Researchers here call this underground city Matiate, meaning homeland in ancient Assyrian. They believe it could be the largest underground city in Turkey.
And what an incredible sight. I happily got lost in this network of caves, thought to be at least 1900 years old and estimated to once being inhabited by up to 70,000 people.
This entire underground city is itself connected to another underground city.
Explorers found an ancient city built underground in Derinkuyu, Turkey. Discovered in the 1960s, this giant subterranean network was not just a refuge, but a fully functional community with schools, stables, and wine cellars. Crafted with precision, this elaborate labyrinth could support thousands, hidden beneath the earth for centuries. Why are high-ranking authorities looking for the builder of such a strange site? Let us explore the metropolis that has been hidden from the world for a very dangerous reason. The hidden city beneath Cappadocia. In the early 1960s, a local man was working on renovating his house. During his work, he accidentally broke through a wall and stumbled upon a hidden room. Curious, he went inside and found a passage that led to a network of tunnels. He grabbed a lamp and began to explore these tunnels, not knowing that he was about to uncover the world's largest underground city. This underground city was no ordinary place. It was an elaborate survival complex, carefully designed and built. The tunnels extended far and wide, connecting different parts of the city. There were specific areas designed for various purposes. People could live there, store their food, and even keep their animals in stables built specifically for them. The city was equipped with everything needed to support life underground for extended periods. The complex included classrooms where children could learn, as well as a church where residents could attend spiritual services. The living quarters were painted white, making them feel brighter and more spacious. There was also a large area dedicated to honoring the dead, showing that the community cared deeply for its members, even after death. Further into the city, there was a communal kitchen area. It featured a traditional Anatolian oven, which was a big pit in the ground used for baking bread and roasting meat. Around the oven, there were various cooking utensils, including large pans. The kitchen also had a well-designed chimney system. This was crucial for venting smoke out of the living spaces and keeping the air clean. The chimney above the kitchen showed signs of heavy use, with dark marks from the smoke. Historically, the people who lived in this underground city cooked their food at night. This strategy was used to avoid detection, as smoke is harder to see in the dark. By cooking at night, they could keep their location a secret from outsiders. Life in the underground city was not just about survival, but also about maintaining a sense of community and normalcy under difficult circumstances. The inhabitants had everything they needed to live a relatively normal life, despite being underground. They managed to create a functioning society with its own rules and ways of doing things. Those times, not every family had their own kitchen space. Instead, they shared one big kitchen area. This is where everyone cooked. In these large halls, they stored important food like barley and wheat. Moving ahead to around 30 AD, after the time Jesus Christ lived and taught, the early Christians were often in danger and struggled to find safe places to live. By the 200s, these Christian groups had moved through cities like Antakya and Kayseri and eventually settled here. They were experts at avoiding danger, often hiding underground to escape their enemies. The tough stones around us are formed from volcanic material. When they are exposed to air, they become very hard. But if you were to dig into them, you'd find the layers underneath are much softer, which made it easier for the early settlers to dig through and create living spaces underground. This underground city began to take shape around the 150s or 160s AD, not long after Jesus' time. It's likely that some of the older members of this community were only 1 or 2 generations removed from those who might have known Jesus personally. Back then, the Roman Empire, which controlled the area, was opposed to Christianity. The Romans worshipped their own gods and did not accept the Christians, often treating them very cruelly. This made life difficult for the Christians, forcing them to find innovative ways to survive and maintain their faith under harsh circumstances. These Christians were forced to hide underground to keep their religion alive. It's thought that without their survival in these hidden cities, Christianity might not have spread as widely as it did. These underground cities had almost everything needed for people to live. But what's at the very bottom of these places? The size of these underground areas is immense. For example, during renovations, even the essential air holes were blocked, showing a disregard for the original purpose of these structures. There are many such cities under the ground in this area. In fact, there are about 150 to 200 of these cities here. Nearby, there is another underground city called Kaymaklı, and we are currently in Derinkuyu. These two cities are said to be connected by a long tunnel, about 4.2 miles long, which is part of a bigger network of cities under the region of Anatolia. New challenges await as our story continues. Private battlefield tactics. People living here turned their situation into one where they could survive despite the odds, showing a lot of determination and smart planning. In the heart of an ancient battlefield, a simple yet clever line of stones stretched across a path. These stones, plain as they might seem, were strategically placed to stop the enemy soldiers in their tracks. This barrier, though basic, was a crucial part of the battle plan, aiming to slow down the enemy and give the defenders a much-needed upper hand. Placing these stones wasn't just about defense. It was a smart act of warfare meant to mess up the enemy's rhythm and strategy. The role of these stones in battle strategy was significant, but that's a story for another time. For now, our tale moves past this simple, smart tactic to delve deeper into the various strategies and events that influenced this historic conflict. Our aim is to explore spots that many travelers find too tiresome or troublesome to bother with. Every new location we visit offers us fresh insights and broadens our understanding. Down in these depths, the temperature remains consistently pleasant at around 68 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of the season. It provides a refreshing coolness during the heat of summer and a comforting warmth during the chill of winter. Envision the scene. Back in the 2nd or 3rd century, this was home to a community of people. In our times, equipped with the modern convenience of flashlights, we can easily explore these underground expanses. However, centuries ago, the inhabitants had nothing more than candles to fend off the encompassing darkness. Picture the daily life in such an environment, where making a home meant accepting a life shrouded in potential threats. Residents lived under a continuous cloud of anxiety, filled with tension, always on edge, enduring the shadow of fear for days, perhaps even weeks at a time, never truly at peace. The tight spaces here might make us feel a bit claustrophobic, but let's continue exploring to see where this path goes. Deep beneath the earth, there was an ancient city, built with a well at its core. This well was crucial not only for drinking water, but also for providing oxygen, making it essential to the survival of the city's residents. Consequently, every room in this underground city was constructed around this central well to ensure everyone could access both water and fresh air easily. To prevent enemies from blocking the city's only source of fresh air during attacks, the builders cleverly designed more than 10 ventilation shafts. These shafts allowed air to continue circulating even when the city was under siege. The underground structure reaches a depth of about 280 feet, which is deep enough to stack a 17-story building underground if each floor was as high as we build today. Despite the significant depth, the city comprised only 8 levels because the rock separating each floor was exceedingly thick. In contemporary buildings, a standard floor height is approximately 8.2 feet, and the walls between rooms are typically around 4.9 feet thick. However, in this ancient city, the substantial thickness of the rock resulted in fewer floors occupying the available space, as more space was consumed by the rock itself. There's also a significant feature in the form of a sliding door, weighing about 660 pounds. This heavy door could be moved into place to block entry to the lower levels during times of danger. It was reinstalled during restoration to preserve its function. The door also included a small hole, allowing those inside to observe the outside without exposing themselves to danger. As the path proceeds through an extensive corridor, it stretches downward, reaching what is commonly known as the 7th floor, located 7 levels beneath the surface. Caution becomes essential here, as the path is prone to causing slips. Along this descending corridor, several small chambers appear, each marked by their distinct characteristics. Among these, one chamber stands out with a sliding door. This design includes what are called trap tunnels. These tunnels are specifically designed to be misleading. They lead nowhere, ending abruptly. The purpose is grimly straightforward. When enemy soldiers mistakenly enter these tunnels, they find themselves trapped, with no way out, ultimately meeting their demise. If any soldier manages to enter the residential area here, the sliding door is promptly shut, just like the one shown earlier, trapping the soldiers inside, leading to fatal outcomes. This setup highlights a stark and ruthless approach to defense and containment within the structure. Digging deeper, we explore ancient marvels and struggles. Stories of survival and faith. Building a subway system today takes around 4 to 5 years with all the latest tools and technology. The first phase of building a subway starts with thorough planning. During this stage, teams of engineers and geologists study the area to understand the type of soil, the presence of water, and the overall geography. They also need to consider existing buildings and infrastructure to ensure that the new subway won't cause damage. This step is crucial because it helps prevent problems during construction and ensures the subway is safe and stable once it's built. Special attention is given to designing the route of the subway. The path needs to be efficient for future passengers, but also feasible to construct without disturbing the city above too much. This involves complex calculations and simulations to find the best routes that avoid critical structures and minimize disruption to daily life. The construction phase is complex and slow. Workers need to carefully remove earth and rock, sometimes under difficult conditions like waterlogged soil or hard rock. They use specialized machines to dig and remove debris and must constantly monitor the progress to avoid causing any instability in the soil or nearby buildings. During construction, crews also have to lay down the tracks and install the electrical systems needed for the trains to run. This includes the third rail, which provides power to the trains. Building the stations along the subway line is another major part of construction. Stations need to be accessible, safe, and designed to handle large numbers of passengers. Ventilation is another critical aspect. Subways need a good airflow to keep the air fresh and safe, so engineers design a series of fans and vents that help circulate air through the tunnels and stations. Safety systems like emergency exits, fire extinguishers, and communication systems are also installed during this phase. Building under existing buildings is one of the biggest challenges. Engineers must ensure that the subway doesn't affect the foundations of buildings above it. They often reinforce these foundations or adjust the subway's path to avoid heavy loads that could cause damage. Dealing with underground water and other obstacles like old pipes or forgotten basements can also complicate construction. Crews might need to pump out water, use stronger materials, or change the design to handle these issues. Every step of the way, from planning to putting the final touches on a station, building a subway is about solving problems and making sure that the finished system is safe, efficient, and ready to serve the city for decades. This involves not just construction skills, but also a deep understanding of engineering, safety, and urban planning. Each new subway is a massive effort that reflects the needs and capabilities of the city it serves. Now consider how difficult it must have been around 1800 years ago. Back then, they lacked modern machinery, advanced tools, and even electricity. Yet, they managed to construct a massive underground space. One can only wonder about the enormous effort required just for the digging part alone. It is estimated that over 5 million tons of sand and stones were excavated to create this underground structure. The amount of manual labor and basic tools involved in moving such massive quantities of earth is almost unimaginable. Nestled on the 7th floor of an ancient edifice is a hidden church, a sanctuary subtly crafted into the shape of a cross. Within this solemn refuge, crosses are prominently displayed, echoing the space's sacred purpose. The architectural design, featuring both long and short sections, is not merely for aesthetic appeal, but serves deeper symbolic and functional roles. This hidden level has historically functioned as more than just a place of worship. It was also a covert gathering spot in times of turmoil. Imagine the early Christians who, fearing for their safety, sought refuge in this subterranean sanctuary. In the dim, candlelit quiet, their whispered prayers filled the air, offering a measure of comfort and a semblance of community away from the harsh outside world. Here, they could spend days isolated, but together, sharing in the solace of their faith. The harsh realities of their environment forced these early believers to live in close quarters, hidden from the world's view. This proximity fostered a profound emotional and spiritual closeness among them, born from shared hardship and mutual trust. The underground church was not just a site for religious observance. It became a crucial sanctuary where enduring relationships were formed in the face of adversity. Such places not only provided safety and community, but also underscored the severe conditions under which people have historically had to preserve their faith and communal bonds. We encounter a room labeled the Grave Room, with an adjoining tunnel that leads straight to the graveyard. The description intensifies. Centuries earlier, this tunnel was a path for carrying the dead. Imagine walking this route, possibly bearing the body of a recently deceased family member through this tight, restrictive passageway. The grim reality becomes even clearer. Picture the countless individuals who might have traversed this path with the bodies of their loved ones, a daunting and sorrowful path. The text draws attention to the natural end of life and the practical responses to it. The dead were quickly buried here to prevent the bodies from decomposing slowly and becoming a source of bad smells. We learn that chemicals were used to speed up this decomposition, a necessary measure since burning the bodies was not feasible due to the confined space and lack of airflow for smoke to escape. A different section is introduced, a pathway that seems to lead somewhere but ends abruptly. This closed area was probably used to store the chemicals and tools necessary for handling the dead. The narrative then shifts to a well of water that has no opening above, a strategic feature in a time of conflict. We consider the risk of enemies finding and poisoning the well. If poison were introduced through the large chimney above, it would contaminate the water supply. However, it's explained that because the well is sealed off from the surface, it was always safe from such threats and provided a dependable source of drinking water. Each level down reveals more about life and faith underground. Life and death in subterranean shelters. This section of the story, steeped in practical considerations of life and death, reflects a stark reality. The handling of the deceased was managed with calculated efficiency to prevent health issues, while the water supply was cleverly protected to ensure survival. This blend of survival tactics for both the living and the respectful management of the dead underlines a period marked by constant challenges and the relentless pursuit of maintaining life in the face of pervasive mortality. We're nearing the end of the accessible area, heading to the 8th floor through a tunnel. Directly above us is what they call a ventilation chimney, stretching up a considerable 180 feet or 55 meters. Look closely, and you'll spot some garbage scattered around, a silent testimony to, perhaps, neglect in maintaining such a historic site. As we proceed, we enter a zone where people once lived, evidenced by the numerous rooms lining this section. Here's where the cramped conditions become apparent, with my backpack grazing the tunnel ceiling. This exploration is guided by insights from the book Anabasis by Xenophon, although one might wonder how much of our current surroundings truly mirror the descriptions found in that text. We're now venturing into parts that typical tourists skip. The reasons might be the difficulty of the climb or the treacherously slippery floors, not exactly appealing for a casual visit. These small, austere rooms once housed families. The setup invites us to imagine their lives fraught with fears of invasion. However, the authenticity of what we're shown can feel questionable. Each room, like the one before it, seems too similar, as if set up to fulfill a specific narrative rather than tell a unique story. What we're really experiencing might well be a blend of fact and creative interpretation, designed to cater to those seeking a historical experience. Yet the line between historical accuracy and tourist-friendly dramatization seems blurred. Here, another room, once occupied by a family, looks just like the previous one. The repetition might make one question the variety and authenticity of what's presented. This location is monitored by people all over the world because it's the deepest known underground city. Archaeologists from different countries come here to study. They arrive with their equipment, eager to explore and learn from everything this place has to offer. In front of us, there's a large door. The small hole you see was probably used either to check who was on the other side when the door was closed, or to attack intruders with arrows and spears. Currently, we are standing in what is known as the barn area. This might have been the place where they stored food and other necessities or possibly kept animals, now just another part of our path through this vast underground complex. It's a place filled with the remnants of the past, where each corner and hidden spot might have been part of historical events. We walk through, trying to reconstruct the old ways of life from the little they left behind. Each step takes us deeper into the heart of history, revealing how people once lived, worked, and possibly even fought in these dark, enclosed spaces. It's an ongoing effort to connect with our ancient human story, one artifact and dusty footprint at a time. We go further back, discovering daily life and survival tricks of the past. Inside the walls of the missionary school, small dents in the ground were used to tie up animals. This was the spot where they were routinely secured. Nearby, there are places that were used for animals to eat and drink. You can also see troughs, which confirm that animals were kept here regularly. It makes sense to keep animals on the upper floors instead of the lower ones, because the passages leading down are too narrow. Animals wouldn't be able to fit through them. Moreover, having animals on the upper floors made it easier for any smells to escape into the open air rather than getting trapped inside. Next, we move to the area where wine was made. Here, workers would put grapes into these basins. You can see there are holes designed to let liquid flow out. The grapes were squashed, and the juice would run through these holes to a collection point. This method was straightforward but effective, allowing for easy handling and processing of grapes during wine production. The design of this place shows a clear and thought-out plan for managing wine production, from the initial grape crushing to the final juice collection, reflecting the ingenuity of those who built and used these facilities long ago. This area once housed large containers for wine storage, and you can still see the holes where people used to crush grapes by foot, a rough but effective method. Not far from this spot, there's a dedicated zone where the freshly squeezed grape juice was collected. This simple process was essential for making wine in olden times. Now let's proceed to the missionary school, the final stop on our tour, and perhaps the most significant part of this historical structure. Here we are at the missionary school, which features a baptistery. According to Christian teachings, it is thought that babies are born with sin. To address this, newborns were immersed in the baptismal pool here, which was believed to wash away their sins and formally mark their entry into Christianity. This practice wasn't limited to babies. Adults who converted to Christianity were also baptized in this pool. Take a moment to look at the interesting construction of the ceiling. Notice the series of arches lined up closely together, forming a sturdy wall overhead. This design isn't just about looking good. It plays a critical role in keeping the building stable and enduring over many years. Each arch supports the other, demonstrating both the literal and figurative support that this place has provided to its community through the ages. The architecture we're discussing was seen as a significant achievement. The design was functional, primarily serving as a place for education. Students were assigned to this area, which was essentially set up to support their educational needs. It's easy to imagine a simple table placed here, where students would sit and continue their studies. The religious leader at that time took advantage of the architecture, using the stairs as a pulpit from which to deliver sermons. This spot was also used for giving lectures, which were meant to impart knowledge and religious teachings to the students. The individuals who received their education in this missionary school were primarily focused on spreading Christianity beyond their local region. The building included several rooms designated for studying, where it is likely that students attended their classes. The specific areas we are talking about are not generally accessible to the public. Access is restricted, and only about 10% of this place is open for tours. The majority of the area is closed off for research purposes, and entry is not permitted. In the area between Kayseri, Niğde, and Nevşehir, there are more than 200 underground cities, each with at least 2 floors. These cities are connected to each other by long tunnels that go on for miles. They were built as safe havens, practical places for people to seek refuge during dangerous times. These cities show how serious the threats were and the steps people took to protect their communities. People didn't live in these cities for a long time. They mainly used them as safe places to practice their religion when there were threats from outsiders. If these ancient cities were built for protection, what do you think they were hiding from? Let us know, like, comment, and subscribe for more.